The distress signal crackled across subspace frequencies that hadn't been used in over 3 decades. Emma Vance, communications officer aboard the UHSF Indomitable, nearly spilled her coffee when the ancient protocols lit up her console like a forgotten Christmas tree. Captain Elijah Drake to the bridge. Immediately. Her voice carried the kind of urgency that made seasoned spacers abandon their meals mid-bite. Elijah arrived within 90 seconds, his gray eyes already scanning the holographic displays before he'd fully cleared the threshold. At 42, he was young for a fleet captain, but nobody who'd seen him command questioned why humanity had put him in charge of their most formidable battle group. "What am I looking at, Commander?" he asked, his voice steady despite the adrenaline Emma could see tightening his jaw. "First contact distress signal, sir," translated through the old Accord protocols. "A species called the Velen are under attack. Their colony world is being glassed as we speak." Emma's fingers danced across her console, pulling up stellar coordinates. "They're 3 light-years from our current position. 26 hours at maximum FTL. Elijah studied the translated message scrolling across the main screen. The words were simple, desperate, and heartbreaking. "We die here. 30 million souls. If anyone hears this, please. We have children. Tactical analysis?" Elijah turned to his weapons officer, a scarred veteran named Torres who'd seen action in the Centauri rebellions. "Sir, I'm detecting 7 capital ships of unknown configuration. Energy signatures suggest planet-cracking weaponry. The Velen have nothing. Their transmissions show they're a civilian colony with minimal defensive capabilities. 7 capital ships." Elijah's expression didn't change, but Emma had served with him long enough to recognize the calculation happening behind those calm eyes. "Against the Third Fleet," Torres allowed himself a grim smile. "They really should have picked a different neighborhood to terrorize, sir." Elijah pulled up the fleet roster. 23 warships under his command. The Indomitable, a dreadnought-class carrier that had broken 3 enemy blockades and never lost an engagement. The Retribution and her sister ship Vengeance, cruisers armed with humanity's latest kinetic accelerators. 17 destroyers, each carrying enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. And lurking at the edges, 3 stealth frigates that had earned the nickname Ghostmakers from the pirates who'd learned, too late, what humanity did to slavers. They're asking for help. Using protocols older than my grandmother, Emma said quietly. The Galactic Accord died before we even joined it. They don't know if anyone's listening. We're listening. Elijah's decision took exactly 3 seconds. Fleet-wide alert. Battle stations. Plot an intercept course. Maximum burn. I want us dropping out of FTL between those bastards and the planet. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos. Emma began broadcasting the fleet-wide orders while Torres coordinated with the other ship's tactical officers. Throughout the 23 vessels of Third Fleet, over 15,000 human sailors rushed to their stations with the practiced efficiency of a species that had clawed its way up from a single planet to become the terror of 6 star systems. "Sir," Emma ventured as the FTL drive spooled up, "we don't know anything about the Velen. We don't have any treaties, any diplomatic obligations. Command is 20 light-years away." Elijah interrupted, not unkindly. "By the time they approve or deny, 30 million people will be dead. I'll face the Board of Inquiry if I have to." Emma nodded, surprised by how unsurprised she was. This was why she'd followed Elijah Drake through 2 promotions and into the black. Humanity hadn't become the most feared military force in the galaxy by running away from fights. They'd earned that reputation the old-fashioned way, by making everyone else afraid to start them. 24 hours later, Third Fleet dropped out of FTL in a perfect combat formation that had been drilled 10,000 times. The alien attackers, a species humanity would later learn called themselves the Kresh, were caught completely off guard. Reading 7 hostile capital ships in orbital bombardment positions, Torres reported. Sir, they're not even shielded. They think they're unopposed." On the main screen, Emma pulled up visual feeds of the planet below. Entire continents burned. The oceans glowed with radioactive contamination. And still, impossibly, the distress signals continued broadcasting. "Please, anyone. We have children. Open a channel," Elijah ordered. "All frequencies." "I want them to hear this," Emma nodded. "Channel open, sir." Elijah stood, his voice filling not just his bridge but broadcasting across every ship in his fleet and to every Kresh vessel conducting their genocide. Attention unidentified vessels. You are currently engaged in the systematic murder of a civilian population. By the laws of humanity and common decency, we are intervening. You have 60 seconds to cease all hostile action and withdraw. This is your only warning. The response came in a guttural, translated language that dripped with contempt. Human vessel. This does not concern you. The Velen are conquered. Leave or share their fate. Emma watched Elijah's expression remain perfectly calm. She'd seen that look before. It was the same look he'd worn at Proxima when the pirate lords had thought 3-to-1 odds were in their favor. You misunderstand, Elijah said softly. That wasn't a negotiation. That was a courtesy. You have 50 seconds remaining. The Kresh ships powered weapons. Plasma cannons that had melted cities swiveled toward the human fleet. 40 seconds, Elijah continued conversationally. I should mention that humanity has a particular hatred for bullies. We fought our way off our homeworld by killing everything that wanted to eat us, enslaved by our own species. And we didn't stop fighting until everyone got the message. Leave us alone, or we'll make you regret existing. The Kresh commander snarled something untranslatable and gave the order to fire. Time's up, Elijah said.
All ships.
Weapons free. Show them why the galaxy fears the Third Fleet. What followed would be taught in naval academies for the next century. The Ghostmakers struck first, their stealth torpedoes slamming into 3 Kresh ships before they'd even registered a threat. The Retribution and Vengeance opened up with kinetic accelerators that punched through shields humanity had been developing countermeasures against for decades. The destroyers swarmed like piranha, their smaller size and superior maneuvering turning the battle into a close-quarters brawl the ponderous Kresh ships couldn't win. And above it all, the Indomitable unleashed her bomber wings, swarms of autonomous drones that humanity had designed specifically for ship-to-ship combat, each one carrying enough explosive to crack a battleship's spine. The battle lasted 11 minutes. 7 Kresh capital ships became expanding clouds of debris. Third Fleet suffered minor damage to 2 destroyers. 0 casualties. Emma opened channels to the planet's surface, her hands shaking slightly as adrenaline faded. Velen Colony. This is the United Human Space Force Third Fleet. The hostile vessels have been neutralized. You are safe. Repeat, you are safe. The response came through tears audible even across the translation matrix. You came. You heard us. Who are you? Elijah stepped forward and Emma saw something in his expression she'd rarely witnessed. Genuine warmth. We're humans. And we heard you asking for help. That's all we needed to hear. In the aftermath, as relief ships arrived and the Velen began the long process of rebuilding, the galaxy learned a valuable lesson. Humanity had many rules, some of them flexible, some of them negotiable. But there was one rule carved into the foundation of human nature, written in the DNA of a species that had evolved by protecting its tribe against impossible odds. When someone calls for help, especially when children are dying, humanity answers, and heaven help anyone who gets in the way.